Frankie here. Today I'm joined by Boogie B, Optimistic, House of Dance. We're here in this amazing studio in Minneapolis, and we're going to talk about experiences and knowledge on breaking. Jake, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out and making the trip.
There's just too much to talk about, man. It's often said that you don't want to let one single thing define yourself. And so as I'm preparing this script for today, I just want to first put out, I have so much respect for just the amount of range and depth for each of the things we can see you pursue professionally. Over a decade of competing at a high level, performing, coaching, running a business, organizing national battles, and being a family man, of course, to top it all off. Yeah. So anyone who's even tried to do any of these singular things, we know how hard it is, like organizing a big event. That's a lot of work. It can be very challenging, let alone someone that is able to give back to the community year after year, right? If we could only have someone like you in America in every single city, right?
I appreciate that.
So the first question I want to ask is basically, for anyone, maybe younger folks, that they think they might want to pursue some career in breaking in whatever form, whether it's battling, teaching, what are some of the things they can expect? Like if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what are some of the things you would tell that person?
Diversify your skill sets. As a young breaker, we're all so heavily competition focused. I would say first and foremost, your breaking skill has to come first. So you should train and earn your rep to some degree before branching out and trying to do anything else in the breaking space. But if you want to chase breaking as a career, the rest of your life, 30-year career, you have to at some point diversify your skill sets. Public speaking, so I've been hosting a lot of events as of recently, not just organizing, but being on the mic. So if you're shy, if you're not used to being out in front of people in that way, build that skill set, for instance. I know a lot of young breakers who are amazing breakers and they're good competitors, but when you sit down and talk to them, they can't look you in the eye. Start working on that early so that you can develop it. So let's say you're 20, by the time you're 25, you can be doing more than one thing. Sometimes people think that if they do more than one thing, that it's going to take away from developing their breaking skill or being able to go to events. And I have a life motto. I say, you can have the cake and eat it too. You can do all the things. You just have to be very focused. You have to be fully present in the thing that you're doing. So if you're training, you're training. If you're organizing a battle or in a meeting, you're in a meeting. Some of the skill sets that I have, I choreograph for the Timberwolves on-court NBA basketball performances. So when I'm choreographing, I'm a choreographer. I'm not Boogie B, the competitor. Or you're competing. I leave all this work, even the studio work, back at home. I don't think about House of Dance when I'm at a jam. Being a family man, when I'm hanging out with my family, I try to be present for my family. I'm not thinking in the back of my mind like, oh, yo, I gotta go to session tomorrow, or there's this dope breaking move. Try to build professional habits, show up on time, be punctual, learn how to make an invoice, structure an email. As you build that experience, know your worth. And I know a lot of people talk about knowing your worth, but very few people still today, even in the breaking scene, I feel, actually negotiate their worth the right way. If you want to have a successful career, position yourself in a way that you're truly unique. You're the only one doing it a certain way, not just in your area, but in the whole country. To a degree, that's what House of Dance Twin Cities is. We kind of do a little bit of everything.
You can have the cake and eat it. I really like that. Yeah. Did young Jake, as a young breaker, did he know this, or did he kind of stumble upon it along the way?
I had no idea. I would end up here with the studio. I think I started probably similarly to how a lot of people start. I started breaking in 2004. So this is my 19th year of breaking. I was at a friend's birthday party. I was friends with him. I don't even think he was really friends with me. I kind of squirmed my way into his birthday party, and there was a bunch of Hmong breakers, and they were doing like apple jacks, like really basic movements, but I thought it was incredible. So that's kind of how I got introduced to breaking. And at that time, that kid, there's no way I would have known we'd be here. But I will say I have to credit some of my mentors. One thing I was really blessed with and I'm still grateful for today is somehow getting into the same room as people like Mex One, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9. He would fly himself out to Minnesota to judge and provide his skill sets for jams here before I was even throwing them. Events called like Falling with Style. He would fly himself out, not because the event itself was dope. I mean, the event is dope, but he said to me that it was how many kids there were in Minnesota. That's why. And I had never heard anybody in the breaking scene speak like that, with that kind of foresight. 2006, 2007, like there weren't really workshops like that. People weren't really teaching each other like that yet. And for him, as a young man himself then, to have that foresight, it blew my mind. And then fast forward to like 2011, when we were traveling and War Machine was a thing, I would fly myself down to Florida, to Orlando, to be at the B-Boy spot. I was in Florida for like 2 weeks at a time, just picking his brain, training at the facility, and just seeing how he moves, like seeing how he walks, seeing how he's always working. Like he would always be going to the post office to pick up B-Boy spot and biggest and baddest gear, and I'd be in the back seat of his car, and I'm like, dang, like you actually bought this car with your business. I see you're always working. He employed his own family. I'm like, dang, that's amazing. And I was at a space where I graduated in 2010. When you're 18, life hits you. You know, your parents are talking to you. Society tells you, like, what are you gonna do? You gonna go to college, or are you gonna go right into the workforce? And then where does breaking fit into that? I went to college for 2 years, but that wasn't my thing. I was and still am kind of like running away from corporate America in a sense, vehemently chasing my passion the same way Mex did. You know, when he would come to Minnesota, he would always like sleep on my floor while I was living with my mom. And here's this guy who can totally afford a nice hotel, or somebody will take care of him. You know, he would travel the world and everyone would take care of him. I always was like, why me? And I think he was a visionary and he saw things before everybody else did. I think that he saw something in me, and it empowered me. I've always been a confident person, sometimes to my own detriment, but he empowered me to think like this. It's allowed me to kind of get to this point.
Having the cake and eating it too has always been a mantra for us. I don't care what happens. If we want to do it, we're gonna do it. Having a kid was the first thing where everybody's like, "Yo, you're gonna quit breaking, dog," and I was like, "Absolutely not," because I knew that was such a big part of who he was.
I'm passionate about this work. I'm passionate about all of it, not just practicing, battling, but all of it. And so, you know, days fly by when you're passionate. You can easily put in a 14-hour day and not look at the clock once. And the only thing that stops you from working is that you have to eat or go to the bathroom. I mean, I agree with what my wife Bao said. Too many people box themselves in. World champion B-boy has no time for his family or her family. Oh, you have a family. Well, bye-bye to your breaking career. Nah, man. But you have to bring people into your life and get into relationships that are healthy and that can support your passion, though. Like I told my wife, and this sounds kind of crazy, I will pick breaking over you. Since day one. I said, I will, if you try to take me away from breaking, you're trying to take me away from myself, so let's not even go there. I'm married to this life and this culture first, still to this day. It's not even like choosing over whatever, but you have to have that kind of commitment to yourself and to your craft and to your passion. Your life reflects your work, and it's all interconnected. Everything works together.
And it's important that you mention this idea of if you put your effort into other pursuits, it doesn't take away from whatever that main passion is or whatever your gift is, right? Life works in this mysterious way. It's all cumulative and brings you out a better person altogether, right?
100%.
So we're going to move on here. Thank you so much for sharing that. We definitely have a lot to digest there in terms of what we have to consider if we want to be a professional. It's not just as simple as the passion that you might have for just competing or battling, like you're saying, which is so much of what we do this for, you know, just that hunger, the addictive hunger of winning and being able to burn someone, right?
It's kind of on a level like, it's a selfish pursuit, but it's not a bad selfish. I've had to be very selfish to get to where I am today, just with the studio and my own personal journey. But the word community is thrown around a lot, and people say it for different reasons. To some degree, I have to admit that the countless hours and work to get House of Dance Twin Cities to be where it is, I have had to step back a little bit and sacrifice my own breaking career. Could I have more clout? Could I have a few more wins? Could I have been flown out to a few more events? Could I be a little bit more well-known by now? Certainly. House of Dance Twin Cities is my life's work, and it's affected hundreds, if not at this point now, 9+ years of being open, thousands of people. And that feeds me the same way, you know, like when you win a jam, you feel so good, but you only feel so good nowadays for like 2-3 days. and you fly home to your city, and on Monday you right back to practice, and it's that kind of rat wheel. With House of Dance Twin Cities, because it's bigger than me, you get that sense of accomplishment, fulfillment in a more prolonged and sustained way.
So right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna react to some old footage. I don't know when the last time you've seen some of these battles. You know that a clip from United Styles was coming. Of course we have to talk about this iconic event here.
Yeah, man, against the Puerto Ricans. Puerto Rico, man, they came in with a dope routine right out the gate. I was like, oh man, all right. Little booty shake, bro. What am I doing? Look how young I look. Damn, I stuck that freeze forever, bro. Babo clowning me. Oh. So funny moment, I jammed my thumb right there. I fell. A little bit of backstory. Just being here was a really big deal for all of us. As War Machine, the sole goal was to put Minnesota on the map. United Styles, like this event was like $50,000, one of the biggest battles in the country at the time. We kind of went from like doing local battles and we're going from local to worldwide, man. So like this was a huge deal, and we trained really hard for this. We were practicing like 5 nights a week for 3 hours at a time. We were in it. I was training really hard right here, running like 5 miles every other day, stretching, vegetarian, the whole nine. This was our first battle, right? So this was like our first, okay, we're here, so a lot of jitters. But I think what you can see here is I'm super confident. I'm so confident, I'm like shaking my butt, which I ain't gonna do that nowadays. So I look at it and I'm like, dang man, that's kind of corny. But I also look at it like I was trying to get a reaction out of people, and I was trying to stand out. Back then, you could get away with silly, goofy burns like that. You know, a lot of people were still doing like the cack and the hump and stuff like that. I think I was just doing what I was seeing or regurgitating that. It's kind of cringy for me to watch that part. But I see a young man who at 2010, I was 18, who was very confident in whatever I had to offer. I thought it was so cool when I stuck that freeze, and then when I watched the footage, I'm like, that was corny. Like I held that way too long. I remember like the jump freeze here down, like that was a risky move for me. And that's actually the only time I've hit that move. So I felt good. Like, I don't know if you've ever done a round, like mid-round, you're like, you know you're coming up to the hard part of your round. And when you hit it, you're like, okay, cool. I hit that shit, time to move on. That was there. But yeah, I was like rushing my footwork, and I didn't have good form. It's like I wasn't sitting on my heels yet. So like my butt was drooped. I don't know if you've ever done footwork, you jab your thumb. That was literally that. Like I literally just fell. I was like, clean it up, and just got up.
This was really the beginning of the YouTube generation of breakers, I would say. Our group of friends, when we were starting, this is one of the first battles we watched. It's really crazy to think about all the different resources all of us have had in our breaking career, depending on which generation you're from. So maybe pre-YouTube, older guys like to talk about the VHS, and then you have YouTube generation, and then more recently, right, around the world we have more established dance schools. I have a friend in China who's telling me how one-hand air flip, it's just foundation. It's just crazy for these younger kids, right? The bar is super high. And so on top of that, it's also really special that when you get to see the different generations go head to head. In your experience, do you feel like you relate to a certain type of breaking you were surrounded by in different points in time? Because you've kind of seen a spectrum, right? You started in 04, in the early 2010s versus now. Is there one type of breaking that you're more like, this kind of hits home a little bit more?
I don't know if you ever heard the song Middle Child by J. Cole. Down in the middle between two generations. I'm little bro and big bro all at once. Definitely not gonna sit here and be like I'm an OG or even necessarily a veteran even yet. I'm definitely not 19 years old coming up in the Instagram age. You know, you said like VHS age or DVD age and then YouTube age. I call it now like the Instagram age or the TikTok age, the real age. When I started breaking to like techno and rave music in like my mom's basement. And I started breaking around a lot of Hmong b-boys. It was all power. The style that was being emphasized at the time was, can you do the craziest blow up? Like it didn't matter if you fell even. Like if you had a big elbow pad and you went bam, bam, head, air chair, fall, backflip on back onto your head. If you hit that and it was on beat, the crowd went crazy and everybody rushed each other. I started out practicing a lot of handstands, hand hops, and I'd work like junior and physics were really big. And I had really, really good hollow backs, and I could do like 40 one-hand hops. To start, I didn't start with foundation. I didn't know to sit in base. I knew what a 6-step was, but I didn't really practice it. As time went on, I completely flipped. Optimistic crew that I co-created, we wanted to separate ourselves from everybody in Minnesota because we essentially wanted to take over Minnesota. You start in your city, you take over your state, regionally, whatever. So when we started trying to earn a rep, we watched Zulu Kings a lot. I would watch like the Evolution DVD where Zulu Kings beat Gamblers. And in my mind, I'm like, Zulu Kings are doing a lot of burns and a lot of foundation, and they're beating like the most famous, at the time, Gamblers was like the most famous crew in the world. It was like Gamblers and Rivers. Skip blowups, we're gonna dress a certain way, and we're gonna do a whole bunch of foundation, and we're gonna do these excessive burns. So we're like, super attitude. I was talking mad shit in battles, but I got better at my foundation. You know, you said before, it takes you like 10 years to really find who you are. After I got over the Zulu King phase, I would call it, I started to figure out who I am. I would say right around this time, 2010, 2011, where me, Joe, and Wealthy were training at a Gold's Gym in our local city, Brooklyn Park. And that's where I started to slow down and experiment with movement and find what my body likes. I think the last thing I will say is I'm a pretty big dude in the breaking scene, bigger than most. I'm 6'2", 225. I had to change my breaking because I went through puberty. Like we all do. The problem with me is I grew a foot and I grew 90 pounds in a year. I had to restart. Like even doing a baby freeze hurt. Like I had literal growing pains, like my legs. I'm like, yo, what? Crews that have inspired me though throughout time, skill methods, Knuckleheads Cali for sure. Just training with Joe, flexing would come out a lot. I never wanted to like really break exactly like them, but their approach after watching them battle personally, like up close so much, it definitely rubbed off on me. One of the biggest realizations I realized is I can be inspired by you. With my body type, I'm probably not gonna be able to move like you. And that helped me find myself.
You're keeping more of an open mind. It's taking this information and you're applying it to you. It's not so much about trying to maybe chase after a certain type of style.
I'm always changing and creating new stuff. You watch me from last year, the year before, I'm constantly doing new stuff. I don't think I have a set style. I have a feeling and emotion though. And that doesn't come through the clips. So I think a lot of my clips look whack. But what I hear from people is, that big white dude, he went hard. Like I felt something. That is a big compliment. And that's what helps keep breaking fresh for me, is I'm always trying new ways of moving. And now at 31, I'm not trying to play like getting old age card, but like simplifying things, but making them hit harder. I want to say it was like Nasty Ray who said this. And this was back at Outbreak, 2012 or something. And he was like, yo, you ever seen an OG, 50-year-old OG do a knee drop? It hits way harder than any knee drop that we could do. Why is that? There's years behind it. There's pain behind it. It's that person doing the knee drop that makes that knee drop dope. Kind of like aging like fine wine. Like my moves hit harder now and I don't have to do as much, which is a nice thing.
War Machine versus Crooks. Bringing back some of these high energy Midwest crew battles, man, it really just takes me back to a simpler time.
Yeah, man. Man, these were good days. Oof. I still had the head shape, the emphasis on the move. Still have the shimmies. Still have the saggy footwork. Dang, that was actually a good round. I usually don't say that, but for where I was at, that was pretty good. I like to get a reaction from people, to dare to like do stuff that some people are gonna love, some people are gonna laugh at, and some people are gonna be called as whack. I feel like that was a lot of unique movement. Good energy, you can kind of see like a year later, a little bit more refined. Here, I'm much more confident because just coming off of a lot of big events, we went from Minnesota to the coasts. Coming back to Madison, Wisconsin for breaking the law.
You're ready.
Yeah, super ready.
This was, I will say, kind of the beginning of the
Changing of the guard in terms of Midwest breaking, because up until, I would say just a couple years before this, Chicago was running everything, and motion disorders as well. But I would say if you like look at just one city, Chicago was it, right? But stylistically, it was starting to change here, where like cats like Casper and Bourne were really big. Skill Methods was really big. And so what was happening here is like foundation was more valued. So the foundation and musicality, like killing the beat, like stuff like that, and air chairs and rollbacks they were dope, but they weren't as valued as they were just 5 years prior. Like I said, when I started breaking, it was everything, right? But now you can kind of see like, you know, homie's rocking the big elbow pad and I'm not even barely wearing a shirt, you know what I mean? And the movement is different. So I think that kind of like helped us win some of these battles. But I will say it was always like humbling to go to the coast and have some success and then come back and get smacked and know like, yo, Midwest is still nasty too. Like you can't sleep on anywhere. But anyways, going back to this specific round, a lot of energy, a lot of confidence, more confidence than the last one. I knew I didn't. I had a plan in my head from A to B. I had refined my freezes a little bit better. So like you see the handstand freeze in Boston, it looked kind of corny. That last one, I don't know if it was the camera angle, but that one has a shape. And that one was like ending the round, like, all right, you took that round. Like, that's a great way to end the round right there, you know? And a lot of uniqueness, just a lot of weird angles. I'm still trying to like shake my head to a little bit overcompensate, so hopefully people cheer for me. Right. You know what I mean? But I feel like you can see some growth in this clip.
Kind of going back to what you're saying about Minnesota, you know, you guys going coast to coast and then you guys come back. And the way you speak, you definitely have this sense of pride for Minnesota. Like, we're here to rep Minnesota, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that because I feel like with the generation of now where we have all these 1v1s and 2v2s, we might have lost that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you were talking a little bit about how you were coming up and it was the blow-ups that you were first learning, but what are some of the other things do you think that are unique to Minnesota? You guys were proud of it, like you went to a battle like, no, you're doing it wrong, this is how we do it. Were there any of those kind of things?
One thing that made Minnesota unique, at some point, we all saw the need to band together and to see like a larger goal. And not everybody here got down with that, and those people were kind of left behind. I ain't gonna lie, like those same people who weren't down with it here locally weren't even really training that hard already, kind of teeter-tottering on the lifestyle and traveling. So War Machine came together through 3 crews. Warriors, which is Joe's original crew, Los Boogie. Looney Tunes or Loonies, so like Wealthy, King Kong, Kool-Aid, B-Boy 1, and then Optimistic. So like me, Finisher, Human, Jesse Jess. We're all hungry. We're all getting good, or some of us were already really good, like a Joe. Let's get together and let's do this. So you might want to call that a super crew. I don't call it a super crew because we were all from one place. Super crews go, all right, this guy from Vegas, and this guy from New York, and this guy from Korea, and this guy, we're all gonna get together and we're gonna enter freestyle session. And we don't even know each other, but we're all really good and we're gonna try to go get that ring. We're all from Minnesota. Rather than making about any one person, let's rep Minnesota, because until that point, I think as a scene, Minnesota was slept on. Chicago was here, Milwaukee was here because of motion disorders, Dizzy and Miho and them. But in the Midwest, in my opinion, bro, that's it. There's a couple people in other places, but Minnesota wasn't there. To make a name and to hit the coast, we have to essentially take over the Midwest. And that was our goal, was to be the best state in the Midwest. Whether or not we did that, I don't know, but I think we had a lot of success and it was fun doing it.
You know, you have these local rivalries, maybe the people that you practice with or people that you see consistently at battles, you gotta go head to head and thinking about, is there a connection there?
So locally, we would go hard and we would stick to our crews. We would talk about like, bro, like the world doesn't care if you win a local jam. If I win a jam in Minnesota tomorrow, the world doesn't care. You have to go out and make it bigger than that. Battle locally, you have to earn your rep locally, but at some point you have to look beyond and have a bigger vision if that's what you really want to do.
2015 now.
Yeah, Los Boogie was DJing. That's LaChan. You hear me talking shit a little bit? I don't know what I said. Whoa, that kind of picked it up. All right.
So we're really seeing the transition from, the 2010, 2011
Way
footage
different,
to now.
right?
Yeah, what are we seeing here?
Way different. So in this round, I'm stretching. I'm stretching almost the whole time. I don't like that round at all. There's not a lot of composure. It was like both sides, like we were like having a pissing contest. Like we were like just all rushing. I think a little bit of context. What round was this? So it was top 4. And I remember this is in Iowa. It was like 95 degrees outside. Floor was hot. We were exhausted. I'm in sweatpants, but I was training really hard. So I think max confidence. Iowa's very close to Minnesota, obviously. Like it's just right in our backyard. I had come off of some successes being on the coast in Boston. I think I had just won Mass Appeal out in Boston. At this point, I had a solidified rep in the Midwest. And I could feel that these guys were like a little bit shook. Even if like move for move, it was like right here, I'm probably gonna get the nod. I could feel that. But in this round in particular, I don't like it. First round was better. This is in the middle of a battle. We're in the thick of things. You're just trying to like just get through it and do just enough to one up. You hear him go, because I kind of like hit my leg on the ground. It wasn't a crash, but it was a little sloppy. And I remember I was like, all right, he's right, fuck. And so I just threw the elbow. And that was something that like hadn't been done in this battle before. And I was like, after I hit that, I was like, all right, I think that solidified it, Running, trying to find counter punch. And I feel like that was like a big uppercut. And so I was like, all right, just be done, finish. It's like Cat's rounds, are they going too long, And I just wanted to make sure I didn't do that. In the beginning, you can hear me talking a little bit of shit. I think I was kind of trying to say like, you ain't got this, like you ain't got me, you're not gonna beat me right now. And this is a moment where like, the clip doesn't do it justice, but I know I was convincing the judges that I was winning. But if you look at the movement for movement through the clip, you might say, I don't know, that was a pretty close round, Jake.
Really interesting the way you describe that almost chaotic situation where it's like you're chasing. Yeah. I think what you're describing, a lot of B-boys would relate to that in that you don't want to be there.
Yeah, you have maturity, pace, take your time, tell a story. Just show composure. In battling, we all want to see how people react to pressure situations. And those people who can truly say what they want to say and be clear about their movements, that's how you know, like, dang, that person's dope. Even if they're not doing incredible power, like, dang, that person knows what they're doing. And in this particular round, I wasn't doing it. I just got by because I was training really hard.
We were looking at Thesis 2022.
Cool.
You can right away see the composure difference. So right here, when I go to those Theses, I'm like kind of reset but slow down. It wasn't a panic. It was a find what you want to do. And then I knew I had won the round, so it's just kind of like not saying too much. You could feel it in the room that I had won the round. It was more complete. And that's something that's important, I think, amongst like experienced battlers, is like knowing when you're done so that you don't burn too many moves or combos. So there's cats who like are really good, top 16, top 8, but they burn way too many moves. And then finals, they struggle. This battle was very important to me. This is just coming out of COVID. COVID was really, really rough for me. I went into a really, really, really deep depression. I didn't know if I was gonna come out of it. I had taken some really bad habits, partially torn my rotator cuff and my labrum in my shoulder. So breaking was like, the studio was really down, everything was shut down. We lost 75% of our clientele overnight when COVID hit. And this was my first battle in 2 years. So this battle meant a lot to me. I made it to the finals and ended up losing in the finals, but Thesis is an all styles battle first. The breaking battle is like the secondary thing. And one of our instructors here was like, yo, there's a breaking battle in Tampa. We should bring our team hip hop or all style students down there and you should battle. And I was like doubting myself a little bit. I was like, I don't know, man, blah, 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 blah. But my wife and I were like, I don't know if we're gonna go. I'm so glad we did, because this battle told me that I still have it, and I still have stuff to prove, and that I had just gone through so much personal, it was like maybe the lowest point of my life, that like, that showed in the battle. Before 2020, I was naive. And like this battle is like, yo, I've just went through a bunch of shit. I'm grown now. I'm not here to get famous or none of that. I'm here to just see if I can still do this. And that battle meant a lot to me, like the jam itself. And the All Styles community, you know how they are with breaking. They get super hype, right? Because a lot of them don't understand the aesthetic or like the details that we, like breakers do. But I think this is 2 years removed from seeing me outside of my house at all. And I had some new stuff. I had created some new stuff and had been practicing, and I put that out, and so that was cool. So yeah, that battle meant a lot.
It's really interesting that you describe your personal experience at this time period outside of breaking, and then you come here. You're not only bringing all of that, you know, to the battle, but you're just ready. You're just professional about it. Can you speak a little bit more as to what it takes to be able to have that confidence at the same time, but you can execute too? You're not emotional. You're not getting rattled by the other guy.
Yeah, I think it comes with life experience. Bring your life to the battle. If you are going through a rough patch in your life and you're battling like this, it's not real, it's not reflective. Sometimes battling when you're not doing well is the best, because it's like, I need to get this off. I'm not even battling to like beat you right now. I need to get this off of me. Everyone I battled there, I almost didn't even see them. Also, I've been humbled since COVID in a major way. And since then, and in Smoked in Ohio, which we'll get into in a second, I made sure to like really respect my opponent. Unless you're a total clown, I'm not gonna talk shit anymore. Do whatever you feel like you need to do, but I'm not going to do that anymore. And it was nice to see everybody again. See Omen, Dizzy, Milwaukee originally, but he lived in Florida, so it was just good to see breakers again. And then the last thing I'll say is a lot of cats from the Minnesota all-styles scene went out to battle too. And I feel like I've turned into like, oh, he's the studio owner. He used to battle. He just hosts the events. He just, you know, like whatever. When it was all said and done, I wanted to send a message to the next generation of not just breakers here in Minnesota, because quite frankly, we have a larger all-style scene now and crump scene than we do a breaking scene here in Minnesota now. I wanted to send a message to the scene as a whole that I'm keeping it real out here as a studio owner. I can still step up and on a whim make it to the finals in a battle. And I think it was really reinforcing to the competitors, like, okay, Jake is still that dude, you know, and that's important to me.
All right, the last battle we're gonna show here. This is probably the best round I feel like I've seen this year. This round was just so nice.
I appreciate that, dude. Man, kind of the same thing. I'll speak to this round first and then the jam as a whole. I battled B-Knock before in a footwork battle in Orlando, 2018 or something. And I beat him in a footwork battle and he was much younger. And I could feel here that he wanted to beat me. He wanted to use me kind of as a stepping stone. I know B-Knock's been very active. He's been going to a lot of events. He's very hungry. And I could feel all of his homies behind him. I could feel the crowd even kind of like, all right, Boogie B's done good, but let's go B-Knock. That was a I don't give a fuck round. It's just like, dude, you're in my way, get out of my way. Pulling the guns out, that was just off the cuff. It was like, doom, ta, put it back. I mean, I knew the entrance I was going to do, and I knew the moment I needed to throw one of my better combos to start. And again, it was kind of going back to what I said before. Tombstone of the 2000 move, that was the hard part. So I was like, all right, as soon as I hit that, all the rest is filler. And even like the digging motion, that's just raw emotion. That wasn't practiced. This move here is like the move that stuck with me forever. That's a move I created a long time ago that is kind of like the corny, shaky Boogie B era, but it always gets a good reaction. So I just keep doing it. Even as I stood up, I was like, I knew that there was a break coming. There's like a little bit more on the meat on the bone. So that's why I did that last slide move. And usually I would like pop up, but I just like took a knee because I was like, that's it, you're fucking done, dude. In larger context, this is sort of similar to Thesis. I'm in a much better space here, but it was, I need to prove it to the Midwest. I hadn't been coming to a lot of Midwest events. I hadn't been coming to a lot of events in general. And when I walked in, a lot of people were like, it's good to see you again, man. How you been? I haven't seen you in a while. To be honest, I didn't come with the intention to win this jam, but I kind of felt like I was going to. I honestly gave the utmost respect to everybody I battled, and I just went and sat by the bar. I was so tired. We flew in that day, and I had no food, and I was just like trying to conserve energy and think about moves and like just stay warm. So I was like doing a little footwork with some guy. I feel like I constantly have to remind people. Like I feel like people are so quick to forget, and maybe that's an insecurity of mine, like I'm trying to overcompensate for something. That constant feeling of proving it, I don't feel like I've ever gotten to famous status, solidified A1, B-boy, or whatever. You get the blue check mark type of deal, you know what I mean? I still feel like there's so much to prove, but then in a sense it's like, I put a lot of years into this. You're gonna feel that. Again, coming back to that, I'm gonna leave a mark. Don't come at me with some cutesy stuff. I'm gonna smash you, you know what I'm saying? Like I believe in myself still, I'm confident in myself, so that is kind of what this round was.
The way you describe how you feel like you have to remind people, I think that's almost a general life thing. We constantly have to prove ourselves and put in the work.
100%. And the last thing I'll say quickly about this, I didn't train for this battle. I practice like currently right now, like 1 day a week. I feel like people try to like boast about how much they session. I did train for a week. I changed my diet. I lost like 10 pounds actually. Got a bunch of sleep. I took care of myself. But I only prepared for like 10 days or a week leading into this. So I'm just in a space in my life where you just got to make the moments count, man, because you don't have forever. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh damn, I'm running out of time. You got to make the moments count. Make your rounds count. And I think that's what you can see. Like this is kind of like the full package of where I am today.
So there's this IG account going around. It's basically the bike police. They're showing a clip from an older generation B-boy and they're showing someone newer. So I don't know who this person is. I don't know what their motivation is, but I guess my question is, other than just for pure, maybe casual entertainment, if someone enjoys this content, if they find it engaging, that's fine. But I guess my question is, do breakers need to seriously pay attention to something like this?
Like I think like movement and styles is part of the lineage of breaking. It's part of the history. Breaking is movement first. And so I think first and foremost, I don't even know it. I've never even heard of that page. I'm not really on social media. I got like 210 followers on Instagram. So I didn't even know that page existed. I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, so you're on that page and you're shown biting. But I was just teaching my team brake fluid kids yesterday. I showed them Migas. And I was like, yo, he sat and he created a style called origami style, right? Just those kinds of thoughts and approaches, I do feel like is all but lost today. Like who's sitting down and going like, yo, I'm gonna create, I don't know, whatever, a complete style. And then I'm like, Vicious from Sweet Technique was just out here for our anniversary. And Vicious was saying that he learned from Gadget. Well, Gadget and Migas were like boys, right? And now you see the way, well, it's no wonder why Vicious and Flayo are nasty, because there's lineage. So I think that when it comes to styles and movement and creating, that it's very important you know where it comes from. Maybe we just need to change the way we're starting the conversations about biting, because we're always just finger pointing. And if you start finger pointing, if you start the conversation with you're doing something wrong, then people aren't gonna listen. It just turns into a troll page. I think it's important to be like, yo, the Toronto, this Canada style came from here, Boogie Brats. These people influenced Sweet Technique, and Sweet Technique has now influenced, what's those cats in Belgium?
Style Invaders.
Style Invaders, right? So you see like 3 levels. Like I showed them a clip of Migas, and then I showed them a clip of Stripes. And I'm like, look at the subtle movements, the threads, the way they get off their back, the way they kip, the way they slide. Flipside Kings and Boogie Brats were around in the same time, and they trained together. This isn't coincidence. Problem is like the YouTube generation, and definitely this generation, if you don't have a direct lineage of knowing that, it's lost. And that's important. Everybody's biting nowadays, and that's okay, but it's not biting. You're doing movement and you don't know where that movement came from.
So you don't have context.
You're losing context. So we always look at the foundation of going like, well, okay, Spy created this move and this move and this move, and there's the 6-step and the CC. Okay, yeah, that's the traditional New York style. But what about this style? What about the Knuckleheads Cali style? Paranoid Android, Circus Runaways, those cats doing things with black eye makeup and getting made fun of. Now everybody, including myself, when you look at my style, everybody is doing threads like this. Everybody. It's super trendy nowadays, but they don't even know that it came from abstract styles that people call abstract, Circus Runaways and those guys. Like they were doing that. The traditional breakers were hating on that stuff. And that's where Knuckleheads Cali style came from, to my understanding, Now you have like a guy like Joe, it's the evolution of the movement. And if you don't have the history, you don't understand the evolution, and then you don't even understand why you're moving the way you're moving. If you don't even understand the way you're moving, it's gonna be hard, especially if you watch Instagram highlights every day, to be original. So that, to me, is very important, particularly as an educator. When we talk about history, it's not just, hip-hop started in the Bronx in 1973. That's one part of history. But specifically to breaking history, you have to mention crews, you have to mention people, you have to do that study. And my kids, with all that information that they have available to them, they don't even know where to begin to find that kind of information. So I'm that bridge for them. I'm not the one-all be-all, but I'm that bridge for them. And it kind of blew their mind. And this just happened yesterday.
You have the moves, you have the foundational moves, but you also have the lineage of where they're created and the context. And why is that important? Just to summarize.
100%. It's becoming a lost art because the history of these movements that are now the foundation, movements, not even moves. Just you see a movement on a clip and you like it and you're doing it, but you don't know why, you don't know where it came from. Unless you have a direct connection, it's being lost. When I started in 2004, I have a bunch of DVDs in the back. I grew up with direct access to so many pioneers. And I'm not talking like OG like Ken Swifts, I'm talking like Migas, Gadget, Lego. It's important that these kids not only know who they are, you play clips from each era and you see the progression. I would encourage people to watch Migas and then watch Stripes. Now Stripes is not biting Migas, I'm not saying that. It's this next evolution. Or watch Paranoid Android and then watch Minnesota Joe. Or watch Thesis. No wonder he was so dang good. He had immense talent, all the power moves, but he was original and he was trained under the Knuckleheads Cali style. It's like different kinds of martial arts. You have claw style, you have tiger style, you have crane style. There's shadow rock footwork, bounce footwork style. You have to be in the know on that, and then you can, from there, the more you know, like, you can create better. It's been a long time since I've watched somebody and went, I've never seen that before, and I've never even thought to do it that way before, right? There are people out there, but you gotta dare to be different.
I wanna talk about your role as an educator, right? And dedicated breakers in this age, it seems like a rarity, but let alone someone that has the talent, like you're saying, you have to train, you gotta bring up your own skill set, but then also have the ability to pass that on to the next generation. It's so incredibly important. Everyone who's in this game knows that, this is bigger than all of us. Like you're saying, breaking is bigger than all of us. So, short and simple question, what do you think makes a good breaking teacher?
I think I'm actually a better teacher than I am a breaker. What makes a good teacher is first you have to get over yourself. I think a lot of workshops, even among some of the best in the world, they're there for a check. They're there for a one-off, and they teach a little routine, or you have to understand that when you're teaching, the more you give of yourself, the better teacher you will be. I'm so grateful to have worked with the Team Break Fluid kids for as long as I have. These kids have grown up in our space and with me, and I've grown with them. So all these clips that you've shown, minus 2011, but 2014 plus, they've been on this journey with me too. You have to care. You have to care about the people you're working with. Is it a one-off drop-in class? Well, it's hard to care because you don't even know that person. 1 hour, $15, in and out, blah, blah, bing, bada, boom. But if you're really mentoring somebody, teaching and mentoring are different. Teaching is you come in and it's an exchange. You pay me and I teach you some moves and then have a good day. Mentoring is teaching you life. through breaking. Breaking is the thing that we're doing in the space, but it's so much deeper than that. Man, you have to be as passionate about teaching as you are breaking. And I think there's very few people still today that are as passionate about teaching as they are competing or breaking. And there are people out there, and those people are literally they're the best teachers, you know. As you mature and you get older, you can naturally come into that role because you're like, oh gee, you're not competing anymore, so that's the natural thing. But for someone like me who's done both simultaneously, literally, I just notice again, like going back to the beginning of the interview, is like when I'm teaching, I'm 100% present with those I'm with. And then when I'm training, it's all about me. I think there's a huge part of accountability too. We've taken these kids on trips to like United Styles and Mass Appeal. Like the year Leroy and Thesis won, I battled with Bebo in the final. Like our kids were there watching that. And there was like everybody on the East Coast entered that battle. And 2 guys from Minnesota in the same crew are battling each other. And we teach at the same studio. That's pretty cool. Not just proving it to myself or proving it to people in the Midwest, but like proving it to my students like that what I'm teaching you on a Wednesday night or a Friday night, I'm going to go do next weekend. Smoked in Ohio was that. I was teaching them something about composure and I went and did it. Like literally the next weekend, came back and won the battle. You have to show and prove to those you're teaching.
A lot of breakers say for, you know, being a professional breaker with all the ups and downs and the challenges of it, you really have to love breaking. It's no different for teaching, absolutely. And that's something we kind of forget. It seems so commonplace to have a workshop or whatever, but it's like you gotta take a step back and ask yourself why you're doing it.
When I first started teaching, I got really nervous before teaching. Like similar to like, on deck, Frankie, you know, or like on deck, Boogie B, like that nerve that you feel when you know you're about to go up. When I started teaching, like I was nervous, man, because I didn't know if I really want to make sure that what we're putting out of House of Dance, Twin Cities, or anything that's coming from me is quality. And I didn't know, I kind of had like, not imposter syndrome, but like, I just care so much that I want it to be quality. Now, I'm not nervous. I've been teaching for so long. I lean into it. So the kid that's nervous that walks in on the first day, I know how that feels. Connecting with people, you know, like some of the world's best breakers. Can you come into a space with 18, 6-year-olds and then talk to their mom and dad after class? Like that's a whole, again, skill sets on being a professional. Not even just showing up on time and teaching. Can you handle 6-year-olds, 18 of them? How about can you handle their the parents and guardians? Can you build a relationship with their parents?
Understanding what it takes to be a teacher, I feel like also what you're saying is that maybe if you are more on the competitive side, it's not a bad thing for you to say maybe teaching isn't for me at this point in my life.
100%.
Maybe right now my focus is just different right now. Maybe I don't need to be teaching classes because there's a different focus, right?
100%. And this is a very like long-term vision type of a space. This is a community building space. I have a 5-10 year vision for like, you're gonna be here for 5 years. You're gonna be the next ones to do what we're doing. But it depends on the setting. If you go to a drop-in spot, all right, you're here this week, you literally might be gone tomorrow. That's fine, then we're just gonna work on some movements. When we bring in like world famous people, Menno, somebody like Roxrite, my teaching is on the line. They're coming in here like, who's this cat up in Minnesota? No, seriously, who's this cat up in Minnesota? Like, if you've never heard of me, you might be quick to prejudge me. Be like, man, this guy, this is gonna be some BS. This might be phony, you know, what am I walking into? But then, okay, you go in and then you sleep on our kids and you go, all right, baby freeze both ways, right? And even that's a hard concept. And our kids are like doing it and then doing windmills both ways. And then the instructor goes, oh, okay, quality output, proving it type of a thing. Like, I told you. Yeah, the work speaks for itself. I don't really need to promote our classes too much. The proof is in the pudding. Watch our kids break. You want to take a breaking class? Don't look at Google ads. Don't take it from me. Watch our kids break.
In answering this question of what's being a good teacher, we're also getting a little bit of insight as to your approach for House of Dance, right?
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying with the quality and the output that you're giving these students, right?
Yeah, it's all interconnected, man. So when I'm battling, I think I battle with a different perspective and context than other breakers. My personal breaking is connected to my teaching, is connected to the success of the studio, and the studio is connected to me. So it's just this big interconnected thing that is sometimes hard to manage. But again, going back is I can have the cake you needed to. I can go out on a Saturday, win a jam or lose a jam, just do the jam. Just being there is a win. This time last year, we were in Brussels for Unbreakable. Just being there was a win, dude. That's awesome. Doing the jam and then coming right back on a Monday, tired, barely any sleep off the flight, and you're teaching. And then, you know, the success of the studio. And then, yeah, being a father, getting the kid ready for school the next day. Man, this is the life that I signed up for. And people are afraid to be a father or get married or buy a house. But like, don't be 30, 35, 40. Be respected and broke. Don't be in the game for 20 years and like your life is a mess.
Sure.
You know, like I'm not gonna put internet clout over my real life. If I'm not that well known, that's cool. I do care what people think of me and I want respect, right? But I want to pay for my mortgage and take care of my kid and make sure the studio's good. My wife and I are fortunate enough for that this is both of our careers, not just mine. Again, going back to Mex, what he did with his family. Can you employ your family? Right now as we're talking, there's classes going on in the other studios and we're helping build teaching inequity for our scene. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, anyways, man, so it's all interconnected.
Really appreciate your time today as a professional, being able to share this knowledge and experience. Hopefully we can use this as viewers and being able to apply it not just to our breaking, but to our lives as well. So we're going to wrap it up here. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.